So it was about 2.5 years ago. It was the first weekend in April of 2016, I believe it was. Yeah, that's right, because it was WrestleMania 32 weekend, and of course we had NXT Takeover Dallas, which was, I believe, the first takeover to take place on a WrestleMania weekend. I believe so. And of course, that weekend we were being introduced to Shinsuke Nakamura. Of course, I kept googling up his names for weeks. I kept saying, "Oh, we're going to see some guy named Shinsuke Nakamura," but it's really Shinsuke Nakamura. And I didn't know much about Shinsuke Nakamura at all. All that I kept hearing is Sami Zayn was apparently a rightful opponent to the fight in his first match. And watching that match still to this day, I'm gonna go back and eventually watch all the NXT takeovers again someday. And it just shows that that night, that was a passing of the torch. Sami Zayn probably like the hottest baby face in NXT since he had been there, and this was kind of a swan song. It was like a passing of the torch moment. Sami Zayn was somewhat of the megastar. Shinsuke Nakamura was taking his rightful place where Sami Zayn was, as Sami Zayn would go up to the main roster. Of course, we saw had Finn Balor around the time, but of course, Finn Balor was probably not supposed to really get the spotlight he got in NXT, because it was supposed to be today with Tommy winning the title when he won it. But getting off track here, anyways. So that night, Shinsuke Nakamura literally, the match he had with Sami Zayn set the bar so high for him. It set it so high that people were expecting these like 5-star matches from him all the time. And that was giving high hopes to what he would do up on the main roster. Like Chris Jericho had already been like pitching the idea to work with Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania 33, of course, until it got changed to him and Kevin Owens. And also, rumors have it was originally Shinsuke was supposed to debut at WrestleMania 33, but he was supposed to dethrone The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. That's the rumors that I have heard. So, of course, when it was coming around the time for Shinsuke to come up, again, he had torn up the whole NXT roster within 1 year. Just 1 year on being down at NXT. Again, his match with Sami Zayn set the bar so high for him. And what made him unique also, keep in mind this, as far as I can remember, Shinsuke Nakamura was in just one tag team match that I can remember in NXT. Just one. And it was a match with Austin Aries taking on the team of Blake and Murphy and a partner of his choosing. And he chose Shinsuke Nakamura. Of course, that's what led, Ryu to have the idea of, like, hey, two of the new upstarts coming in, why don't we have them both have a match at NXT TakeOver the End? So that's what kind of led to their, one-on-one match at TakeOver the End. And what I also liked about the Sami Zayn match also is it was not a face or heel dynamic. It was literally like a passing of the torch moment out of respect. And we didn't have to worry about, characters. It was just about wrestling. And it's a match that would make, I believe, could make somebody a wrestling fan. I believe I may have mentioned that in my special stream I made probably a couple months ago of my top 10 moments that I would show someone to make them a wrestling fan. That match in general. Because again, it set the bar so high for Shinsuke. Yeah, none of his matches never hit like that high again with matches with Sami Zayn, but he had great matches against Austin Aries. Of course, before he, knew he had torn up everything, he humbly felt that he couldn't, go after the championship unless he beat the icon himself, Finn Balor, which was Finn Balor's final match in NXT, of course. And it was an awesome match to put over Nakamura. And these two literally brought out the best in each other. And it wasn't about storytelling. It was, well, so it was, but it was just about, wrestling ability. Shinsuke wanted to prove as a wrestler he was ready to be in the main event scene of NXT, which led him to dethroning Samoa Joe. Joe would take the title back off of him at TakeOver Toronto, though. But then it was just so that way Nakamura can win the title back in Japan. And they had some random steel cage match in Australia, which I heard wasn't really too good from what I heard, which ended their feud. Of course, he put over Bobby Roode, of course, before Bobby Roode went on his 9-month title reign, or 8-month title reign, whatever the heck it is. And he comes to the main roster. And of course, I thought putting him on SmackDown Live was the right way to go. Because at that time, it felt that SmackDown Live needed some more star power, especially with the superstar shakeup happening, and SmackDown pretty much got the guys that were struggling on Raw to, the guys who could be good, but of course, under Road Dogg's writing, they went absolutely nowhere. So Shinsuke came up. And you know what? I thought the first feud, they were going to throw him in a feud with Dolph Ziggler. I'm like, that's the right way to go. But what happens also, he immediately starts participating in tag team matches. Tag team matches. Remember what I said before that Shinsuke Nakamura was only in one tag team match in NXT. And why did I like how he was in one? Is because it made him feel like he was something unique, something different, something special. He was not just another guy. Having him in constant tag matches, partnering up with the likes of AJ Styles or the likes of Randy Orton all the time, it was not fresh, and it made him feel like he was just one of them again. Of course, I thought he started off all right. His feud with Ziggler, again, it could have been better. It wasn't bad, but it could have been better. But of course, my thing was, okay, you're not going to go all out with someone right away when he first comes to the main roster. Then, of course, he was in Money in the Bank, which I didn't think he was going to win because I felt like a guy like Nakamura doesn't need the Money in the Bank briefcase. And then he got into this feud with Baron Corbin. And there's been some feuds in the past where I felt like, okay, it was not the right time for these guys to cross paths. Kind of like how it was with Ryback and The Shield whenever that started up in 2012. It was obvious that Ryback at the time was the hottest thing going. Yes, he was put into the main event scene way, way, way too soon. And then it led to, the Shield debut, and then all Ryback's men pretty much got transferred onto the Shield. And in some ways it kind of sucked, though, because Ryback's career just went down the tubes. So this feud with Baron Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura is where I think they kind of hit a little bit of a rut. I mean, yeah, Nakamura was slowly, building up the reputation for people who didn't really know who he was up on the main roster. His matches weren't awful, but, obviously, those who seen in NXT had high expectations for him. The matches were just meant to really protect the both of them, like Nakamura and Corbin, but it really didn't get anywhere, which of course led to eventually, Corbin failing his cash in, but then Jinder Mahal goes on to beat John Cena clean on free TV, not a pay-per-view, on free TV on episode of SmackDown Live. Of course, he has to drop Cena on his head, but Nakamura beats Cena clean. The match was pretty good. Again, it wasn't, a 5-star classic, but I'd say it'd be like a 4.5-star match, I'd say, for the most part. And he goes on to feud with Jinder Mahal. And I'm like, you know what? This title run for Jinder Mahal should not be lasting that long whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure they would not be stupid as to have him lose to Jinder Mahal, especially if it's clean. At least, make, look like Jinder had to go out of his way to, make sure he didn't beat Shinsuke. And these guys went out there, put on just a very slow-paced match that was just completely out of sync. This is where I think Jinder's run on the main roster really went downhill. So, they have a rematch at Hell in a Cell. First, he had another match with Randy Orton to get the number contendership. He beat Randy Orton clean, which was not a bad match either. And then they have the match at Hell in a Cell. And the same thing happens at SummerSlam. Jinder Mahal, of all people, for Shinsuke Nakamura to lose twice. Jinder Mahal, who not only got the title thrown on him after being catering all the time, but then Shinsuke Nakamura, who was a megastar, a god in New Japan Pro Wrestling and NXT, had to lose twice to Jinder Mahal. I could easily compare that feud to what happened this past summer with Asuka. With her and Carmella. They just tried to protect, for Asuka's case, again, it was just way too soon for Asuka to be in the main event scene again since she suffered her first loss at WrestleMania. Shinsuke Nakamura, he could have probably gone by with winning the championship, but no. Not only do they have him lose, but they have Jinder Mahal making a mockery out of Shinsuke, making fun of his facial expressions, making a couple inappropriate comments. And of course also, Nakamura's mic skills continues to go down, 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 down. Because Here's the thing. It's obvious Nakamura's English is not the clearest. In NXT, of course, he cut some pretty good promos, but they were believable promos. Once again, that word believable. With having scripted promos, especially with how bad WWE apparently is with booking baby faces, I felt that they made Shinsuke look like an idiot with the promos he was cutting as a baby face. It got weird, it got annoying, and that's what hurt him as well. Right after he feuded with Jinder Mahal, he was just pretty much just tagging with Randy Orton left and right against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Excuse me. And then the Royal Rumble comes around, and he wins it, which is what I wanted to happen. But at the same time, was he really built up to be a serious contender to win? And they still didn't really, carry on his momentum from the Royal Rumble. It's like, okay, you won. You're going to get your match with Styles and Nakamura WrestleMania. You guys won. Okay, but where's the story? There was no story for this match whatsoever leading into WrestleMania. And what happened, of course? Oh, well, you can't be any better than Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, so you guys got to tone it down. They had an alright match at WrestleMania. I can't say it was bad, but we had so high expectations for those two to go out there and just knock your socks off. It just proves that Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles in New Japan is not going to be anything like. WWE is not going to match that at all whatsoever. And of course, they turned Shinsuke heel. His promos have been better since being a heel, but he lost the championship feud with AJ Styles. And what happens, as they do with mostly everyone who loses the WWE Championship feud, they immediately go down to the United States Championship feud and just no story there either. Just take it and act like it's like a consolation prize. Because really, what has Shinsuke done with that U.S. title? He didn't even he was barely even on TV after SummerSlam, for crying out loud. Yeah, his match with Jeff at SummerSlam wasn't too bad. I'll give it that, but there's no story behind it. And again, Nakamura, can easily, if they would take the chains off of him, could easily be the biggest star in this company. He could easily outdo Roman Reigns. He can easily outdo AJ Styles if he wanted to. He can easily outdo like Seth Rollins or Dean Ambrose or anybody. He was brought in literally as a god from Japan. And now, literally, they made him from his own unique self to doing constant tag team matches and just feeling like he's just another person again. WWE has had a history of ruining big stars, such as Shinsuke Nakamura, recently Asuka, last year it was Bayley, now also they're starting to, destruct Braun Strowman as well, Bray Wyatt, Wade Barrett. The list can go on, but it boggles my mind that the Shinsuke Nakamura we got back on that night at NXT TakeOver Dallas just is so distant from us right now. It's just not even funny how they turned this guy into a mockery, and then he just didn't get his WrestleMania moment. Because the thing also is, here's the thing too. I mentioned how I was a little head scratched about having Nakamura turn heel at WrestleMania. I get the fact they wanted to continue the feud, but felt it needed a face and heel dynamic instead of just two people going after just for a legendary match. But the thing was the way that feud should have felt. It should have been like the feeling of Brett and Shawn at WrestleMania 12 or 14, whichever one was. I always get them mixed up. No, 12. That should have been Shinsuke Nakamura's crowning moment. Because what I thought was going to happen was Shinsuke was going to beat AJ for the title. Kind of like a passing torch, you're now the big man now on SmackDown Live, and AJ Styles was going to go to Raw. That's what I thought was going to happen. Of course, over time, I realized they hadn't built Shinsuke up as a serious contender, and that's why I was fine with AJ retaining at WrestleMania. But it was a feud that should not have gone past WrestleMania. It should have been this big, legendary build for that big, crowning moment that you couldn't top off, going down the line. But that's not what the case happened. Shinsuke is now settling for a mid-card title, and he's barely defending it. It's just a shame. So that is my thoughts on what the WWE did wrong with Shinsuke Nakamura. Where did they go wrong with Shinsuke Nakamura? So what are your thoughts on this? What are your honest opinions of Shinsuke Nakamura? And also, another thing too, what wouldn't surprise me is with how big New Japan Pro Wrestling is right now, it wouldn't surprise me if Shinsuke went back to New Japan. They're obviously, more respected. They're getting bigger on the map. And I'm pretty sure if Nakamura was putting on the performance that he did in NXT in New Japan, I'm pretty sure that they would definitely, be blowing WWE out of the water and money and whatnot. So Shinsuke Nakamura within a year, if he is not in WWE anymore, goes back to New Japan, again, it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. But what are your thoughts on this, guys? Leave your thoughts on how you think WWE has gone wrong with Shinsuke Nakamura. What do you think happened that took Nakamura back down the tank? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below as always. And be sure to click buy, like, and subscribe more content on my channel. You may follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. And with that, guys, I am checking out. I will see you all later. Till then, guys, have a great rest of your night, and peace out, everybody.